Did you know that Napoleon actually lost most of his troops to the Russian summer, not the winter? That's right. The popular narrative often paints a picture of the harsh Russian winter as the downfall of Napoleon's Grand Army during his invasion of Russia in 1812. But here's a twist. This is somewhat of a misconception. Yes, the brutal winter did play a part in decimating Napoleon's forces, but the truth is the majority of the casualties occurred much earlier, during the unforgiving Russian summer. Factors such as disease, starvation, heat exhaustion, desertion, and even suicide claimed the lives of countless soldiers before the first snowflake even fell. So, the tale of Napoleon's troops freezing in the Russian winter, while dramatic, is not entirely accurate. The Russian summer, with its own set of brutal challenges, was the real culprit for the majority of the losses. Now let's delve into the details of Napoleon's ill-fated campaign. In June 1812, Napoleon launched his invasion of Russia. The stage was set for one of the most dramatic military campaigns in history. The objective? To force the Russian Empire into submission and compliance with the continental blockade of the United Kingdom. Napoleon, the master strategist, had meticulously planned this campaign, banking on his formidable Grande Armée to bring Russia to its knees. Napoleon's troops crossed the Niemen River, a natural border between Prussia and Russia, signaling the start of the invasion. This was a grand army, a force of over 600,000 soldiers, the largest Europe had ever seen. They were a sight to behold, a force that seemed invincible, and they advanced rapidly through Western Russia with a sense of unstoppable momentum. Their first significant engagement was the Battle of Smolensk in August. Here they faced the Russian forces head-on in a fierce and bloody conflict. Despite the ferocity of the Russian resistance, Napoleon's army emerged victorious. The city of Smolensk was captured, and it seemed like nothing could stand in the way of the French emperor and his mighty army. But this was only the beginning. The Russian strategy was not to engage in open battle with Napoleon's superior force, but to retreat deeper into their homeland, drawing the French further away from their supply lines and deeper into unknown territory. This was a war of attrition, a slow wearing down of the enemy, rather than an all-out frontal assault. As Napoleon's army pushed deeper into Russian territory, the true test of their endurance began. The Russian summer, not the winter, was the real adversary Napoleon's troops faced. This may seem counterintuitive, but let's delve a bit deeper into the harsh realities of the Russian summer. As Napoleon's Grande Armée marched deeper into Russia, they were met with a formidable foe, one that was more deadly than any Russian soldier: the summer heat. The sweltering temperatures caused soldiers to suffer from heat exhaustion, which seriously impaired their physical capabilities. The scorching sun was relentless, and the lack of proper shade along their march further aggravated the situation. But the heat was just the beginning. With the summer came disease. Soldiers fell ill in droves, succumbing to typhus, dysentery, and other diseases that quickly spread through the ranks. A combination of poor sanitation, close quarters, and a lack of medical supplies turned the camps into breeding grounds for infectious diseases. Starvation was another constant companion of the French troops. The Russian strategy of scorched earth, which involved burning crops in villages to deny the invaders any resources, left Napoleon's men desperately short on food. The soldiers, already weakened by disease and heat, were forced to forage for whatever scraps they could find, often eating their horses or resorting to other desperate measures. In these conditions, morale plummeted. Desertion became rampant as soldiers lost faith in their leadership and their cause. Some even took their own lives, unable to bear the suffering and the seemingly endless march deeper into hostile territory. This deadly combination of heat, disease, starvation, desertion, and suicide decimated Napoleon's once mighty army. Long before winter set in, the Russian summer had already taken its toll. By the end of the summer, Napoleon had lost half of his men, a clear testament to the harsh conditions of the Russian summer. This is a stark reminder that sometimes the greatest adversaries are not always the ones we prepare for, but those we least expect. Despite the heavy losses, Napoleon pushed on, eventually taking control of Moscow. It was a hollow victory, however. What met the French troops was not a bustling metropolis filled with spoils of war, but a deserted city set ablaze. The Russians, in a stroke of strategic brilliance, had evacuated and torched their own city, leaving nothing for the French to sustain themselves on. In the aftermath of the Russian summer, the Battle of Borodino was a critical turning point. It was a grueling fight, the bloodiest single day of battle in the Napoleonic Wars, and while the French emerged as victors, they did so at a significant cost. The Russian army, under the command of Mikhail Kutuzov, had inflicted heavy casualties on the French, further depleting their already dwindling numbers. Following the capture of Moscow, the onset of winter brought with it a new set of challenges. The French army, already ravaged by disease, starvation, and desertion, now faced the harsh Russian winter. But contrary to popular belief, it was not the winter that sealed Napoleon's fate. His Grande Armée was already in a state of disarray long before the first snowfall. The winter weather did exacerbate the situation, no doubt about that. The French troops were ill-prepared for the extreme conditions, and their supply lines were stretched thin. The relentless guerrilla warfare from Russian peasants and Cossacks added to their woes. But the army that faced these hardships was a mere shadow of the formidable force that had crossed the Niemen River at the start of the campaign. As the French retreat began, the once mighty Grande Armée disintegrated. Napoleon, the man who had been seen as invincible, had to face the reality of his catastrophic defeat. The Russian campaign resulted in the staggering loss of nearly 1 million soldiers and civilians, shattering Napoleon's reputation and marking a significant turning point in his reign. The Russian winter, while severe, was not the primary cause of Napoleon's defeat. It was the cumulative effect of the Russian summer, the attrition warfare, the strategic retreats by the Russian army, and the lack of resources that led to the downfall of the Grande Armée. The winter was merely the final blow to an already crippled force. As we've learned, the Russian summer was the true nemesis of Napoleon's Grande Armée. This tale, steeped in history, shatters the common misconception that the Russian winter was the primary cause of Napoleon's defeat during his invasion of Russia. In reality, the Russian summer showed no mercy, claiming over half of Napoleon's force through disease, starvation, heat exhaustion, desertion, and even suicide, all within the first 2 months of the campaign. This early devastation crippled the Grande Armée, leaving them ill-prepared for the challenges that lay ahead. The ensuing winter, while harsh and unforgiving, was merely the final blow to an already beleaguered force. Napoleon's once formidable army was reduced to a mere fraction of its original size, not by the icy grasp of winter, but by the unexpected and underestimated brutality of the Russian summer. The story of Napoleon's invasion of Russia serves as a powerful reminder that history is often more complex than popular narratives suggest. And as we delve deeper into the annals of the past, we continue to uncover truths that challenge our preconceived notions and enrich our understanding of the world.